Hey guys, Redbeard here. Oh wait, wrong channel. Anyway, I've been told many times that I need to go over everything that I did on my Samurai, that I'm holding back and not telling people what I did. So I went ahead and I'm going to make this video of all the things I've done on the Samurai that I can remember. It's been a long time since I started it, but I finished it, and I'm going to go over everything I did. So here's my Samurai. I guess I'm going to go over first off suspension, what I did to this Samurai. I took the existing frame rails, cut them off right here, and then I went ahead and used some 2x4 1/8 inch tube to fill out the frame straight out. Boxed it off in the front. I notched it here to clear the winch cable, and then it's running a mile marker. I think it's an 8,000 pound winch, and these springs are YJ springs with full length add leafs, so they're running 5 leaves total. I moved them inboard from the existing location. It's been cut and moved in to be even with the frame rail. I thought it would give more room for the tires. The 34, these are 35, so 34.5 inches. I didn't want them to rub the springs, so I figured if I inboarded them as much as possible, I could have no problems with clearance back in there. So I'm just running a stock style shackle, this straight. It's made out of 3/8 plate, normal YJ bushings. This is a factory Samurai bushing, and that I using some CJ7, I think. Poly bushings. I had to, grind them down to make them fit, but they worked all right. The other side gets really close to the pumpkin, so this setup will work all right, but if you went with the Toyota axle, you might have some clearance issues to get the spring to clear the pumpkin. But I planned on keeping Samurai axles anyway. I kind of wanted to keep pure, mostly Samurai stuff. On these axles, I got RCV shafts with the TRE E-locker in the center section, running the Zor Crab there. Hydro Assist is just a like cheapo tractor supply type ram that I mounted onto half high steer. Now this high steer should have been, I think it is a Cow Mini. Now Pitch Rough Works, that's what it is. I went ahead and sleeved the lower bar that came with. It was solid, but I went ahead and sleeved it anyway because I figured with that being hitting rocks and stuff in here, I didn't want that to bend. And since I put the Hydro Ram on it, figured it's even going to be more force on it. It is running stock tie rod ends off of Samurai. I am running a tracker box that is ported for the Hydro Assist. Stock hubs. I do have a spacer. I think it's 1.25 inch spacer. These are 15x8 rims on Rockzilla 35 1015 side-by-side tires. I'm running about 7 psi in there. Seems to work okay. I would like to go a little lower, but if you hit a ledge, it seems like they get pretty close to the rim, and I'm not running bead locks. Shocks are just some cheapo Pro Comp ES 1000s, I think. Running a Ford shock mount. The drive shaft is a stock Samurai shaft that I cut and put a piece of chromoly tubing to extend it, then plug welded it. Right there, seems to be holding up okay. Stock Samurai flanges. I think those are the large flanges. On the rear, same kind of springs are YJs. I think they are full add leaf. 5 leaf packs. Zor Crab, TRE E-locker. I inboarded these springs Now on the frame, I went ahead and where it normally bends out, I heated it up, bent it in, so it goes straight back from the factory location. So it's pretty much the straight frame should be straight from front to rear. That brought it in quite a bit in the back. I just made some poly bushing mounts and mounted right there with some 3/8 shackles, stock Samurai drum brakes, some I think those are ES 3000s, but I'm not 100% sure, just cheapy shocks, nothing fancy. Ford shock towers, of course, I had to cut them down. I wanted them on the top of the frame. So with the frame being narrowed, I was able to put the shocks on the outside and taper them in. That way I don't have to worry about cutting the tub or anything underneath there. It's got an anti-wrap bar that I made. Those bump stops are from some kind of GM. I think they're from a Hummer, but I'm not 100% sure. Honda exhaust that I got from like a Honda Accord, a friend of mine that worked at Auto Body Shop. It got hit and bent, so they replaced it, and he said, "You want this?" I said, "Sure." It's all stainless steel, so why not? The shaft, I don't know who made it, but it is like a heavy duty shaft that was made. I acquired it on one of the Samurais I purchased. So it's technically a front shaft, but I went ahead and made it fit here. You should be able to take the front and rear shaft and make them work either way. So I should only have to carry one spare, which I don't have, but I like to have one. Stainless steel brake lines. And go underneath here, we got a Zohr snatch cradle. And that is the cradle that has the square plate there for the drum e-brake, or the emergency brake that I have never put on. I got one. It's running a shortened intermediate shaft. And here's where it gets a little weird. I wanted to make this thing as low as, like flat belly as I could go. So I went ahead and I moved the snatch over and up, and so I mounted tabs on top of the frame there. This side uses like the factory Zohr arm, but I have it spin plated and moved up, modified a little bit to be moved over. There's a shot of my traction bar. Nothing too fancy, it's just a bushing here. It slides in and out, it's allowed to pivot. And then it's got a mount here on the frame, or the axle. They've been trussed. So as far as the transfer case, those are 6.5 gears from Trail Tough. This is a Zohr twin stick. There's an auto 3-speed. Now, since I moved the transfer case over and up, I also wanted to try to get the weight as low as possible. So the engine has been pushed down, and so the transmission's been pushed down. I got a new cross member in here. So pushing that transmission over, that is a four-wheel drive case, as you can see, but I don't use any of the four-wheel drive, so it's got the Trail Tough bushing in it. So to do the clear, I was worried about it hitting the pan here, so then it's been all kind of been pushed over for that too. It is running, I made these little adapters right here to put the 1.6 to the 1.3 trans block. Basically it just kind of steps over, and these plate up here to distribute the load. Got this on the side, on that side too, to push it over to stock. Flex plate, I had to get a new one because they cracked. Torque converter stock. Those are Dodge 118 mounts. As you can see, I need new ones, they're ripping. This side's a little better shape, but it's a 118 mount, and I'm not sure. There's two different mounts on those. They're the same, but I don't know which one it is, so I'd have to research which one to get when I buy them. Engine mounts have been cut from the frame and lowered as much as I could possibly think it would work. And this side too. So the engine's a lot lower than it would normally be. There's my mount. I've been meaning to put a plate on here, just never ever got around to it. Seems to be working fine. And bump stops from a GM. E-Locker truss. I put a little truss on this side. I didn't do any of the knuckleball gussets. Now the brakes are from a 4-door Tracker. They help an enormous amount because with the 6.5 and 3-speed and 513 and the axles, I could not stop this thing in low. If the idle was anything more than barely, it would just drive right through the brakes on it. So I talked with Myron from Zooks Off-Road, and he recommended these brakes. I ordered them up, and it was night and day difference. It would actually stop, and you can actually get it to stop in low. Down here, there's the rock sliders, nothing fancy, just welded in to the factory mounts here. That's where my roll cage is bolted to, and then it's welded in. Ugly welds. I hate welding upside down. Got a catalytic converter, try to get rid of some of the stink. It's just a Jeep aftermarket Cat. And then the exhaust goes out the back. I don't think that's even a muffler for a Honda. I think it's actually a resonator. It's kind of a straight through, but it gives a nice tone. It's not loud, but you can hear it. Now we're up here for the engine. Toyota power steering pump custom bracket. The belt should be pretty good. It's nice and tight. It keeps everything out of the way. It also has a factory alternator, nothing fancy. Electric fan. Don't know what from. It was on a Samurai that I got. Got a power steering cooler and a transmission cooler. This, I think, is from a Mercedes. I don't know. I just Googled on Amazon, and looked on Amazon until I found one I thought would work. Factory header's been wrapped. Factory brake booster. It is running the Harley 44mm carb from Zooks Off-Road. Got the temperature gauge there. This is a fan temperature switch. This is for the other gauge. I ended up getting a new gauge, but so I got extras. Factory radiator. I slanted it, pushed it back as much as I can. The engine's been pushed down, and I believe it's back a little, but not. It's mostly down. Factory coolant reservoir. This is a little siren that my dad had on his Samurai. I thought it was kind of okay, funny for a horn. This power steering hose, I believe, is from a Suzuki SX4. It had the end that fit on the Toyota pump, and it's fit on the Tracker box. Now, it isn't a perfect fit. Technically, this bolt's too small for this thing, but it does not leak, so I'm happy with it. And I just had to do some minor bending to get it to clear everything, but it seems to be working fine. NGK wires, NGK plugs, the filter that comes with the my side. Got an LED light bar, just cheap Amazon one, nothing fancy. Battery wire mess. Got your winch controller here. Got a circuit breaker for the stuff inside. The extra stuff. There's my remote winch controller. Breather. Factory style fuel pump, fuel pressure regulator for the my side. This came from a tracker, so I modified it to make it fit. The box has been kind of Frenched into the frame rails because normally they'll put that wedge on there to keep this box straight in line with the frame. So if you mount it on a frame, normally it would sit out like at this angle, and that kind of misaligns the thing, and then it would have been even closer to the winch because it's a tight fit. So it's been Frenched into, notched into 2x4 frame rail, and then bolted through with sleeves. I got stainless steel brake lines there. Factory hubs, already went through that. I guess that's all for the powertrain. I'll go through some of the interior / body stuff that I did. So on the hood, it is angled down, a little better vision. I didn't go too extreme, but it clears the radiator barely. I want the tube work on the front. This is actually from like a Mustang, 98 or 95 Mustang. Supposed to have a little horsey in here, but I 3D printed this that said Zook. Kind of made the tube work fit that. Got a little stinger, soft shackle, headlights. These are blinkers / parking lights. Headlights, blinker / parking lights. Those are cheap plastic hood pins. Hate them. Kind of stuck with them now since I cut a hole in the hood. Tube worked bolts here on the hinges. Factory hinges been cut. Door. Cheap plastic. You got a cage I built a long time ago. It's not the best, but it should do for one roll or two. Got your e-locker switches. That's the siren. Got my choke here. I just put this in. GPS speedometer. I had a tack. It doesn't work right. It bounces all over the place. Made some lights for the dash that light up into the factory spot, so when you turn the locker on, they come on. Blinkers still work on the factory switch. Headlights are on the factory switch. Wipers, they'd work if you plug them in, but I don't have any motor up there, no wiper blades. Plexiglass windshield, and it's only 1/8 inch. There's my old gauges. I'm gonna end up getting rid of some of those, because they're redundant from the new ones I put in here. But I'm gonna end up, over the winter, I want to do a turbo on here, and then I want to put a boost gauge and an air fuel gauge in here. This does blow air. It works not very well, but it does. So the heat does work. I got all my switches for my fan, which is temperaturely controlled, so if you forget to turn it on, it still will come on, but you can turn it on. Whip lights, bumper lights, rock lights, winch power. I don't like my winch being powered all the time, so this turns I got a huge contactor under the hood, so that turns that on. This is a stereo. It's not really a stereo. It's a amplifier for a boat. And then all I have to do is I got a Bluetooth receiver with RCAs that plug into the RCA end of the amp. And this is a gain control, but it works like a volume, so I can use my phone. Got the 3-speed auto shifter. Park reverse neutral drive to low, just like normal. Now I did change it so that you can go straight from drive to reverse without touching the button. Dangerous, yes, but if you need to slam reverse, keep from a rollover, I wanted to be able to do that, not have to push the button. You do have to push the button to get to park. We have Zord twin sticks, worked like normal twin sticks. I took the clutch pedal, welded it to a bigger pedal because I don't need it anymore. Wiring mess I need to clean up. Factory pedal, there's my cage mount, little rust repair, just some aluminum. I did have to bow that out and hammer that out to make the auto fit in there right. And cheapo seats that I hate. But we'll see what get them get replaced sometime or another. Got a big old mirror. That is my radio mount. Handle there. Handle here. I got a fire extinguisher there. Fire extinguisher here. Got a tube work there. Rock sliders seem to work fine. Still running the factory top. No back window because it was an old top that was all cracked up. And back here I changed the tailgate to be a drop down. Give you a workbench slash place to sit, eat lunch. This is a new addition. I don't know how well it's going to work. It's like a powered lunchbox so that I can bring burritos or cheeseburger on trail, heat it up as we go. Kind of like people do with their engine, but I just thought this would be something different. That is a whole whopping 3-gallon fuel cell mounted back here. I can pretty much run all day and not run out of gas. I just purchased this. It's a 1.3 gallon little tank. Mounts right up here like that, and it comes off. So that's pretty much my reserve. It'll get me back. I used to carry a 5-gallon can. I got tired of it being back here. Just added these seats. These seats came from like a Metropolitan school bus. I had quite a few of them. I might end up putting some up front. We weren't arguing about that one. I'd like to have rid of them plastic seats, but the other people that wheel with me don't know about that. Right, Travis? Yeah. LED controller for the whip lights. They mount here. These are some Targa bar that I made. I wanted to see how well they last. They are warping a little bit, but so far they're holding up. This side, same door, same thing. Glove box, wire mess, I know. These are, I put some relays over here for the e-lockers because I didn't want them to be able to stay on with the key off and drain my battery. There's fuses for the e-locker. There's a fuse panel back there. This is a cigarette plug thing. I just put that in just for that lunchbox. This is my kickdown cable. Never did hook it up, but I can pull on it and it does drop it. Helps going up some hills if you don't want to floor it because it sometimes won't downshift. That is about it. Inner fenders, just some plate sheet metal. Radiators mount as low as possible. It pretty much is there, but you really ain't gonna hit nothing. I got some vent tubes that are run up for all the axles and transfer case so that hopefully it won't pick up water. And I think that's about all I have that I can think of that I did. Like I said, it was a bunch of ideas in my head that I thought would be cool, like the lowering the engine and narrowing the rear frame rails and narrowing the front ones, the springs, because I didn't want the tires to rub, and it seems to work pretty good. The poly windshield is just because I didn't have a windshield that wasn't cracked and it was cheap. It's 1/8 inch, not the best, works. I just end up putting a bunch of screws here so that I can take it off if I want. Other than that, the factory top will fit, and there she is. I think that's all I got, except for maybe these little trailer lights I put back here. They're backup lights. They don't seem to work. One of them's dead already. Irritates me. The lights seem to be pretty bright. It is street legal. Does drive down the road. It's high RPM for what you're getting out of it. It's geared really low with the 513s and 6.5s on it, but the 35s help. I can get 55, but it's screaming, so I would not want to hold that speed very long, but it'll get you around, and it is street legal. I think that's all I got. I'm gonna put that up there, so if anybody has any questions, I'll just say go watch my video.